Thank you very much. As I said, we'll have an opportunity to have a discussion, and I hope you'll go and quiz the presenters in the next room, perhaps with a glass of wine in hand. So the third group here is Peter Rosen Partners, Michael van Valkenburg Associates, Guy Nordensen. What's that? Peter, you have... I'm sorry. This is the order we had here, and I apologize. Our alphabet is not attuned. So, you mentally ready, Peter?
No, I was waiting to hear Josh.
You're fine? Okay. So I'll continue. Guy Nordensen Associates, Matthias Schuler, Transolar, Mobility and Chain, and Aero Architectural Research. I apologize for that mix-up, but I think we'll get messages.
We learned the Finnish alphabet is different.
Thank you.
Peter.
Does this work? Yes, okay. Really, Marco, that was quite unfair. You don't know how timing matters to we architects, especially when we only have 5 minutes. Matthias Schuler of Transolar and I will present this project in 5 minutes, we hope. We looked at the Low2No brief and the competition, the terms of the competition, and made a decision at the outset that the answer or the goals of the competition could not be met with any significant impact on the local site. Whoops.
That's the wrong presentation.
That's the wrong, whoops.
Okay, let's go on.
We are on the wrong foot completely here. Thank God somebody's looking.
Stop the time for a minute.
Stop the time, exactly,
Yes.
stop the time. I tried to...
Boy, I can reconstruct that sentence then, can't I?
Keep talking.
Okay.
So, yes. It was our view that the impact of a single site was limited and marginal with respect to changing people's perceptions and changing the culture, and that an opportunity existed to look at the entire site. This is one of the most extraordinary urban sites that most of us have seen. It's right at the heart of downtown Helsinki, so we effectively broke the rules of the competition and redid the master plan. And the master plan we felt was perfectly good, but it's been done, it was conceived in a time when the urgency of global warming was not so potent as it is today, and so we felt the challenge was something different. Well, I can keep talking for free, is that right?
Yeah, we do.
All right.
Which means, in a conclusion on Peter's point, in a certain way we said, if we would focus only on the site, we would in a certain way miss an opportunity.
Yes. So there's supposed to be a gadget
Here?
to point. Well, but this site is a major piece of Helsinki, and it's connected absolutely to the historic downtown. Next. And we focused, actually, one of the first things that we noticed was that this link, the way it's connected, is to the north, and it's a connection that was built for trucks and trains. And the fact of the matter is that there's an axis here which starts in the Esplanade, bends at Stockman, goes down along a street I cannot pronounce, and runs right through into Jätkäsaari. From here, you can see all the way out to this harbor. Whoops, I just did something. And from here, you could potentially see all the way to the water in Jätkäsaari. So our decision was to cut this away and make that connection, make of that connection one of the most important pieces of our proposal. And we're also cutting away the the port and creating some more waterfront here. Next, please.
And certainly concluding, making it really a piece of the city,
Yes,
of the urban. And then we did an analysis of the existing master plan, and in a certain way you see on the left side the existing master plan, on the right side the evaluation of the new master plan, and it showed, and you see the dark colors, which shows that we have 900 times or 9 times more potential, exposed potential on the facades of the building. So in a certain way, respecting, and we did it in a very kind of stringent way, respecting the low sun and the orientation, we kind of changed the master plan to allow more sun, more light to the buildings and more light into the streets.
In other words, in a low sun condition where you, in a northerly climate, what you want is to orient the blocks north-south. And there's some streets in Helsinki which are much loved, which have that orientation, which are warm in the winter, etc. Next. Whoops, you missed one, I think.
No?
No? Oh, okay. So we also felt that we did some cutting to sever the ferry terminal, and some carving in various places. Our goal was to make this a dense community and to be as economical as possible. If possible, not to bring in any fill at all, but to cut some fill away, build up the surface, and be sustainable, which is to say use the materials that are on the site itself.
And we're changing the density. So from the top one, which is the existing one, instead of going to the planned master plan, we said we do on a local footprint a higher density. Instead of bringing in a lot of infill, we do a higher density because with the right master plan you can bring much more people on site. So on a smaller footprint you can have more people, which is definitely the first approach for a sustainable living.
And then just some of this is a plan with streets, all of which can be used by cars, but no cars can park on these streets. All the parking is here. It's an average of about a 5-minute walk from everything else. That's for private cars. This would be for hired, whatever it's called, car share, and electric vehicles more centrally located, and a tram system carefully analyzed so that you're never more than 2 minutes from a tram stop. Next, please.
And if you do now an analysis on the accessibility, and this is now the accessibility from Jätkäsaari into Helsinki and its surroundings, so you see, kind of looking in the red part, in 10 to 15 minutes, this is where using public transportation, how this central part of the city is interconnected, or kind of by using the right public transportation, interconnected into the whole suburbs of Helsinki. Now, in respect of solar and energy carbon footprint, we looked on what is the accessibility, what is the potential of solar on site, which we call the solar blanket. And you see at the bottom, if we take the Finnish society today, because electricity is so cheap, you spend a lot of it. So first, we have to cut down your demand, your consumption, to be able, instead of feed 1,200 people, to be allowed at the end to feed with the solar potential on site up to 25,000 people. And then the rest of the demand, we think it should be connected to a local energy source, which in this case we looked on wood. And now, doing very low energy buildings, it doesn't make sense to do a district cooling because you're delivering nearly nothing, because the buildings doesn't demand a lot. So electricity becomes more dominant. So what we're doing a central wood gasification system. We are distributing the gas, and we have cogeneration plants in the blocks. So your district supply is much smaller.
A very quick note about water. You produce gray water that is relatively clean, but you dump it into the sea. And the argument we make is you should not do that. You should be, the water that goes into the sea should be pure, should be blue water. And it's something that should be looked at along the whole coastline. And our proposal has a strategy for that on our site. Next, please. Which is just a series of ways of running the water in the blocks, not where the streets are, but where the gardens are behind the buildings, and then filtering everything at the edge before it runs into the sea so it's completely pure. Next. And then this is just looking at the urbanity, the transparency, the quality of this space. This is analogous, western-facing, lots of daylight, something like the Esplanade, an opportunity to make an urban space, and a parallel one which is more idiosyncratic and more of a neighborhood orientation, but also, with a view to the sea. And it's a very ordinary grid with views in every direction. It's an armature for flexible, multiple futures. So grids are made to be modified, and that's part of what this is showing. I fear we're running out of time.
Now, concluding in the indicators that looking on today, we kind of extended the low-to-carbon approach into a low-to-carbon footprint, because we think carbon is not our only problem, but resources, materials, water, what Peter already talked about, all this counts together and is typically evaluated in the ecological footprint. And Finland in Europe is one of the leading countries, so you have a big carbon footprint. So, and on the green bar you see that's your carbon, in a certain way your carbon potential, because you have all this wood. So in a certain way, if you reduce your carbon footprint, and we showed different strategies to do so, you can easily run into a carbon neutral society.
So we not only did a master plan, which we were asked or not asked to do, but we didn't do a project on the site. And we found in our site, on our project, a different site, which we felt was a nicer site, and we did, which is surrounded by water, and which you can see all the way back into the city. And last slide, and well, many more things.
So in a certain way, I think the last slide shows the footprint of the new master plan, and we are totally clear that we say, if you do a single building, there are outstanding low-to-no buildings in Europe. If you want to have an impact and take the lead for Europe as a small country, as we heard, and as a flexible country, such a valuable site like this shouldn't be used or messed up in a certain way with a master plan which is not considering this kind of low-to-no approach. So we have to do a big deal, otherwise I think it's much more a value. Thank you.